Hey, yeah, D-Rock.
Like he made it.
She a bad mamacita. See how she dance, she move the hips. I think I need her. She freaking them sheets for me. Like baby, bend it all. We look good in them jeans. Only 2 drinks and she fiending. She a bad mamacita. See how she dance, she move the hips. I think I need her. She freaking them sheets for me. Like baby, bend it all. We look good in them jeans. Only 2 drinks and she fiending for me. Keep dreaming. Hey, money on my mind, don't waste my time. Bitch, I'm speeding. Niggas plot against me, but I know when they scheming. Bitch said they love me, but I don't believe it. Bitch said they love me, but can't get no reasons. Last bitch on my...
Yo, what is up, better? Welcome back to Sports Hunters. Aiden, I'm Dear Thompson. That's Aiden Munson, and thank you for joining us here in Sports Hunters. Aiden, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, comment down below, and also make sure that the post notification for every video and update from the channel. And today we're discussing another series in the second round of the NBA playoffs, which is the Los Angeles Clippers going up against the team with the best record in the NBA, the Utah Jazz, and Donovan Mitchell. And as you know, the Los Angeles Clippers defeated my Dallas Mavericks 7 games, and Utah Jazz pretty much gentlemen swept the Memphis Grizzlies and John Morant in 5 games. This is one of my favorite series so far in this series. Aiden, who do you have in this series?
Would have went 7-1, but that's not a big deal. 6-2 is better than nothing. Both of us had some doubts about both teams coming into this series. Both me and you thought LA should have been gone out of the running a long time ago. Both me and you didn't think the Jazz were going to get past the second round. Yet here we are with two teams that we doubted some of the most, excluding Phoenix and maybe Atlanta. Here we are with the 2 teams in the West that we probably doubted the most, sitting here in front of us in what you said, exactly what you said, in one of the most exciting matchups in the entire playoff so far. This is not going to be a gentleman's sweep like they did before. If LA has the same problems they had in that Dallas Mavericks series, and by the way, I don't think that they necessarily beat down the Dallas Mavericks. They didn't beat down the Dallas Mavericks, right? For a good quarter, the Dallas Mavericks could have easily came back and overtaken the lead, but it was the exploitation of weaknesses in the Dallas Mavericks game. For one, they leaned too much on Luka Doncic. Luka plays all 4 quarters and is gassed by the 4th. Luka, I'm going to say it again, reiterate. Luka plays all 4 quarters and is gassed by the 4th. He's not dependable in a 4th quarter situation. He's unreliable in a 4th quarter situation. Unless of course, you need him to take the last shot because he will make that last shot. But when you need him to hustle up and down the court in the 4th quarter, he's gassed. Kristaps Porzingis was atrocious. I mean, I am disgusted. I mean, that man can't stay healthy. That man can't. And when the man is healthy, he's not making a valuable contribution. We throw this every time a big man gets hurt and is suffering. We like to throw out the term Greg Odom. I don't think Kristaps is there yet, but he's pretty close to being Greg Odom and Dorian. I said again, Luka is gassed in the 4th quarter. Gassed in the 4th quarter. Fix the statement. Gassed in the 4th quarter. When you need him to take the last shot, he will. But defensively, he is not reliable in the 4th quarter. I don't know what to say here. I'm going to say what I need to say. Jazz in 6. Jazz in 6. Jazz in 6. And that's all I'm going to say. Jazz in 6. Kawhi Leonard, one of the best defenders in the league, who, although is seen as fall off in his defensive statistics, is still a top defender. Rudy Gobert, a defensive player of the year candidate, who has a extremely good chance of winning the defensive player of the year. I don't think they're going to score at will in the paint. Kristaps was just letting them in. You saw it, Darius. You don't have to hide your upsetness. You saw him. You saw him. It was like Kristaps water. It was like they were pushing past him. That's a 7'1" individual. Kristaps is 7'3", right? That's a 7'3" individual. Why are you just pushing past him up in the lane and dunking? That's not acceptable. That's sad, right? Get big, right? That's not going to happen with Rudy Gobert. That's not going to happen. You're going to have to push. Rudy Gobert is going to push him to the outside. He's going to have to force him to take shots, which the Clippers have no problem taking shots. Some dude I wasn't even paying attention to made like four freakishly ridiculous threes. I forget his name. What was his name, Darius?
Nigga, Reggie Jackson.
Yeah. We didn't even pay attention to that man before. Maybe even 10 hours ago. This man launched three bombs from beyond the three-point line and sank them all. I mean, it was ridiculous. The Clippers have no problem taking shots, but I think that man has expended his level. Again, the Mavericks defense just couldn't keep up with the Clippers in the end, and that was their fault. The Jazz defense is a lot different. The Jazz defense is a lot stronger. The Jazz defense has reliable options on the court starting and coming off the bench. That is why I'm going Jazz in 6. Darius, what are your thoughts?
No, now let's not act like the Clippers team is not deep either. They're one of the deep teams in the NBA, but right now the Utah Jazz are the favorites to win the NBA championship. It's not the Brooklyn Nets. It's not the 76ers. It's not the Milwaukee Bucks. It's the Utah Jazz because number one, the best record in the NBA. Donovan Mitchell, even though he was injured for about a month, came back game 2, first round versus Memphis, and completely went off. He was flawless throughout those 4 games he played throughout the course of that series. Rudy Gobert, one of the best defenders in the league and one of the best defenders of the past couple of seasons. You look at this team, look at 2 6-Man of the Year candidates, and one of them happened to be the 6-Man of the Year winner, Jordan Clarkson and Joe Ingles. You go down the line, and Bogdanovich, I think, last year, that was like a huge reason why the Jazz took the 3-1 lead to Denver because Bogdanovich was injured. He was not a part of the bubble. He did not play throughout that second half post-suspension of the NBA due to COVID. Those are just some huge reasons. But I would not be surprised if the Clippers won the series. Now, you look at these past couple seasons, the Clippers have had some easy opportunities to make it to at least the Western Conference Finals. Last year, and of course, took the 3-1 lead to Denver. Same thing happened to Utah in the first round. But these are 2 pretty much equal teams. Now, if you had to ask who's a deeper team, who's more experienced, I've had to see the Los Angeles Clippers because they have a lot of depth outside of Kawhi.
The more experienced team, yes, but the deeper team, you said it yourself, they have 2 6-Man of the Year candidates. The deeper team is a guy who is the team that has reliable options coming off the bench and on the court. The Los Angeles Clippers, yes, do have an extremely deep team with veterans. Rajon Rondo was virtually ineffective in that series.
Well, in games 3 and 4 on the road in Dallas, he was very reliable. Games 3 and 4 and game 7, we didn't really see him that much, but like facilitating is definitely a huge factor, and that's why the Clippers brought him in. Nicholas Batum was on fire throughout the course of this series. Reggie Jackson, outside of game 7, he was on fire throughout the rest of the series. When Tyronn Lue, pretty much rotated his roster. I get props to Tyler because he opened up his roster after game 1s and 2s after Dallas was up 2-0. Pretty much inserted Reggie Jackson to the lineup, and Patrick Beverly virtually did not play games 3 through 7. So, and that worked out for the better good of the Clippers, holding up the Utah Jazz here. They have a lot of defense, they have a lot of offense. But the Utah Jazz, Quinn Snyder, who is one of the best coaches in the NBA, one of the best defensive coaches in the NBA. They have to realize that outside of Donovan Mitchell, who had a phenomenal postseason last year, we need Jordan Clarkson to give us a good amount of scoring, who's 6-Man a year. We need Joe Ingles to make a series, just making shots. And I don't have to worry about Rudy Gobert guarding anybody because guess what? I believe he can guard Zubac. I believe he can guard Marcus Morris. I believe that he can contain possibly even Boogie Cousins if he does appear in this series. Now, looking at Game 6 and 7, Ty Lue substituted Luke Kennard in for PG-13 when he got in foul trouble. If Quinn Snyder and the Jazz have the possibility and they have the scheme to attack, and at least try to get Kawhi or PG and maybe even Reggie Jackson in the foul trouble throughout the first 2 quarters, I think that would be phenomenal for them because Reggie Jackson, look at that Dallas series, he was fired to start off the game, and then he was fired to start the third quarter after halftime. And sometimes he made some big threes. You saw that in Game 7. Nicholas Batum, he's going to do Nicholas Batum things. He's one of experienced players. 13 years in the NBA. Has played in many playoff series throughout his career. So he knows what he's doing. But the Jazz right now are the favorites to win the championship. Their defense is elite. Their offense is elite. They have that main guy in Donovan Mitchell. They have a deep bench. But I think the main contribution for the Jazz has come from the bench, which happens to be Jordan Clarkson. Now, Joe Ingles does happen to be sometimes turned to the starting lineup. I do trust those first 2 guys, in Donovan, Ingles, and Bogdanovich to at least give us some scoring here. Rudy Gobert can also get some offensive rebounds as well. The Jazz right now, the game plan has to be crash the boards, just make your shots, and that's pretty much it. Look, Kawhi Leonard is going to get his points no matter what. Kawhi Leonard is going to do Kawhi Leonard things. PG-13 in that series, he was phenomenal. He averaged around 25 points throughout that course of that series. But if the Jazz want to win this series, you have to make this offense virtually run through both Kawhi and PG. Just don't let those other guys go in because guess what? Towards this series, we saw Reggie Jackson do his thing. We saw Nicholas Batum do his thing. Sometimes you saw Luke Kennard, Rondo, and others. But if the Jazz contain those guys and maybe even try to neutralize PG-13, because we saw what PG-13 did the last time he faced the Jazz in the Western Conference playoffs when he was part of the Thunder, virtually invisible. Joe Ingles was on his ass. So right now, I have the Utah Jazz winning this series. I have the Utah Jazz in 7 games. Kawhi Leonard is just that good. We saw in this past series, he can carry a load going into the fourth quarter and closing out games. But the Jazz just have to contain those role players and possibly have a plan to neutralize PG-13 in this series, which I do believe they're capable of doing because in the paint they're not getting anything because they have a defense player of the year in Rudy Gobert. And Kawhi Leonard is going to do Kawhi Leonard things, but at the end of the day, I do think Donovan Mitchell and the Jazz are going to pull out to win this series. In 7 games, they're going to advance to the Western Conference Finals. And I do believe, I'm going to say this right now, I do believe we are going to see the Utah Jazz in the NBA Finals this year.
Excuse me. Right. I agree completely with your analysis. Oh, excuse me again. It's been a rough week for me, my allergies. I agree with you completely with your plan. Crash the boards, load the paint, force them to shoot, force the offense to run through PG and Kawhi. I agree completely, and I think this is what's likely going to lead the Utah Jazz to victory in this series. But to end it off, I just want to say thank you all for supporting us this far. I know we had some technical difficulties with the Q&A. We will probably be coming out with another video when we can. Our schedules are just very conflicted right now. But thank you for sticking with us. And without further ado, this is the end of sports. This is the end of another episode of Sports Now with Darius Aiden. I'm Aiden. That is Darius. And we will see you on the next episode of Sports Now.